Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of this weekly podcast called Spanish Loops. I think that my other half is over there, my partner in crime,
I
Francisco.
think I'm here. Hola, Jorge.
Hey, I
How
see
are you
you.
doing?
Hello. How are you doing?
Well, doing great, but guess what? I'm not your other half today. I'm only one third of today.
Yeah, so am I. And we have another third that everybody will know who that person. We know who that person is. So everybody will know after our intro music. So
Let's get some music.
let's go for it. So, Francisco, let everybody know who this colleague is.
So, welcome everybody to this new episode of Spanish Loops. Today, we are super happy because we
Yes.
have a friend, a colleague, mm, a very, very, very good friend, William Rosendine.
Hola,
Hola,
William.
William.
How
Hola,
you
buenas tardes,
doing?
buenos días. I'm well, thank you. You made me sound so mysterious.
Nah.
That was a long intro.
Well, to our listeners, William Rosendine is a colleague. He's guiding as well as we do. We have been friends for a long, long, long time. And today we are here on this podcast because we want to share with all of you the differences, some fun differences between Spanish culture and the United States. William has lived in Spain, he is from the United States. Hey, we have the best person to, I don't want to say make fun of us, but
You could make fun of me also.
well, hey, it works both ways. Whatever is funny for you that we do, we think you guys do it funny.
William,
So,
it's not the first time you're with us. Is that right?
It's the second time I've been with
The
you.
second time. Yeah, I remember. I can't remember exactly which chapter, but it was in our baby steps of
Yeah,
this
maybe like even
adventure.
chapter nine, maybe.
Maybe or 10, I don't know, to be honest. And please,
Well,
let everybody know what they need to know about you first, please,
oh
if you don't
my goodness.
mind.
Well, I think you've said it. We're really close friends. The three of us, unfortunately, live about 5,000 miles apart from one another, which
Yeah.
is so we only get to see each other a few times a year, if that,
Hmm.
or once a year. I'm also a tour guide. I guide tours in Europe and in South America as well.
Hmm. Nice.
And Spain is home away from home.
Right.
Like,
But your previous work was something related to Spanish language, right?
yeah, so I'm a retired Spanish teacher.
Hmm.
I taught Spanish in high school here in the United States for many, many years, almost 30 years, just shy of 30 years, and then retired in 2014 to go to work for Rick Steves Europe as
Hmm.
a tour guide in Spain. And that's when I got to know you beautiful human beings.
Oh, thank you. Where
And
okay.
where did you learn your Spanish?
uh, I learned Spanish in high school. So I would
Hmm.
hear Spanish growing up as a child in my
Yeah.
house. Mother is both my parents were born in the United States, but my mom was raised in Mexico, and
Hmm.
so I would hear Spanish at home, but refused to speak it.
Yeah.
So when I got to high school, it was either take Spanish or be disowned.
But you
So
but you lived in Spain for a couple of
so
years?
then I took Spanish, and then I went to school. I did my junior year abroad in Granada, and then I also went to graduate school in Santiago de Compostela.
Is that
And like
why we have the beautiful screen behind
one of
you?
my favorite places on earth.
The
The
Alhambra of
Alhambra.
Granada. Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
so Francisco, why do we have William here with us today? Again, for
Well,
second time.
well, we want to share with all of our listeners what differences when we travel. One of the cool things is to see the differences between the cultures and
Hmm.
see what we do funny to American eyes or what Americans do funny according to Spanish eyes. And why don't we start with the home? Because our homes are so, so different. Here in Europe, in Spain especially, we do not live in houses unless you're extremely wealthy. We live in tiny little apartments.
Well, tiny, if we compare the size of the standards from United States of America to Europe,
Yeah.
okay? because I have a funny anecdote I will mention later on with William, which is, I mean, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but I'm pretty sure you will remember that, William. But anyway, our apartments here, they are considered kind of normal. We're going to talk about it. But yes, William, just regarding the question that Francisco just made, or the topic about homes. Um, yeah, you are used to living homes, not in block of apartments as we are here in Spain. So, what is your personal input regarding that?
Well, we have such a variety of dwellings in the United States. There are many people that live in apartments, or people live in condominiums. You call them pisos
Yeah,
or flats.
yeah.
We happen to call them townhomes or condominiums. And then, of course, as you know, the stereotypical, like everybody says, we live like in a movie. So
Yes.
when Spaniards have come to visit us here in the United States, they drive into my neighborhood and they go, "Oh, es como una película." It's like a movie. Uh, what you see, the typical American, individual freestanding home.
Uh-huh.
So many people live in neighborhoods like I live in. I happen to live in suburbia, which is outside the city of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yes, we tend to live in homes that are, you know, mine is a very, very typical home. I live in a house that's less than 200 square meters. That's 1,800 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
room, two and a half bath, kind of stereotypical American home for the Spaniards, which for you
That's
seems very large. That seems like a big
If I
house.
was living one of those, I would need the skate rollers just to go around, you know?
that's way too big compared to our houses.
Francisco,
Like,
how big is your apartment where you live?
so it's 120 meters
That's the 1,200 square feet.
to 100 square feet, and it's for five.
So
So,
five, right?
yeah.
Which is also, I have to say, 1,200 square feet can also be very typical here in the United States as
Yeah, but
well.
but how many rooms, Francisco, do you have in 1,200 feet?
So we do have three bedrooms, one office, and two bathrooms.
Right. One mini
Very
bathroom
small.
and another regular bathroom. Okay.
Well,
So,
small. I mean, we don't have a bathtub. For example, that is something that I think most Americans, you guys do have a bathtub.
Yeah.
Here in Spain, more and more, we are taking the bathtubs out because they take too much space, and well, we don't have time to take a bath, so we take a shower. So it's
yeah,
a
that's
walk-in
right.
shower.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but where do your babies take a bath?
You buy a little
Oh,
pool, a little thingy that you put them there. That's it. No bath, not bathing on a bath. Nope.
I'm totally naive on those things because I never had a baby, you know. So I don't know. That was a
well,
conversation
I
among
keep
both of
thinking
you.
about my granddaughter who comes over, and the best thing is to take a bath at night with all her toys in the bathtub and splashing and playing. So the Spanish kids don't get to play in the bathtub growing up.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Nah,
no, not
not
really,
much.
not really, not much. And
But
now, keeping comparing things, the apartment where I live is 800 square feet. I have this is my office in the apartment. I have a tiny bathroom. I have like a little salon, and then two spare bedrooms. One of them is the master bedroom. So I have a distributor and also a little terrace plus the kitchen. And all that in 80 some, 83, 84 square meter, which is, let's say, under 850 square feet. So that is I would say, typical or the average, let's put it that way, size of an apartment. And in the block where I live, I know there are families of six or seven that they're living in the same space as I'm using as one single person. So this is a big difference. And that anecdote I had is that not so long ago, William, you were just doing something in your boy's home. He was moving and you were cleaning, and he said, well, it's not a big house, it's only 140 square meters. And I said, excuse me, it's not a big house. Excuse me. I wish I'd had that. It's almost double the size of mine. But that's something that it depends in our sense of space. Is Francisco, do you ever have that sensation when you
yeah.
go into an American house and
In America, when we talk about America, we always want to make sure that everyone understands we're talking about America and Canada.
Mhm.
Okay,
and
it's
Canada?
that
Yeah,
the continent
yeah,
in North America, and the houses you guys have are humongous. I mean,
yeah.
they're like very very big, and to me, there's some big differences. Yes, we have talked about the size, we have talked about the bathtub, but okay, something a little bit not very classy to talk about: toilet seats.
And the
American,
fact that you also have, no matter how small the bathroom is, you have a bidet in your
that's
bathroom.
it. You guys don't have a bidet.
That's right.
So
I don't
for
have. I
us,
don't.
I do. I mean, it's like, that's weird that people don't have a bidet. So to me, it's like, okay, it's weird. It's weird. So to me, the bathrooms are probably the thing or the space where I see more differences in our house. The bathtub, the bidet. Uh, this, I don't know. It's probably the place where I see more differences.
The other
William.
thing that we have also are garages.
Oh, that's
Because
right.
we have a two-car garage, right? So we have a two-car garage, but we have room for to store things. And what's really interesting about people that live in the United States, I would say it's in my neighborhood. I'll just talk about my neighborhood because, of course, we can't generalize about the
Yeah.
country.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that so many of us fill our garages with our junk,
Hmm.
and the cars stay outside. And so
No.
very common to see cars in the driveway or cars out in the street. And the
Mm-hmm.
garages are just filled with the possessions that we own, which are not in use. It could be, summer toys, it could be barbecues, it could be garbage cans, it could be all bicycles and the sleds for the winter and the kids' toys. And so that's pretty common.
All
In
right.
my house, we do put both cars in the garage, and then in the space between the garages, between the cars, are all the junk that we own, right?
Well, that's a big difference because here you cannot over storage. You have to throw things away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, well, it's not gonna be in use. Out,
Mm.
yeah,
out. Oh
And
yeah.
also here, those who are lucky to have a parking space normally is underground the building where you live, isn't it, Francisco? Because
Yes.
nowadays it's
Here,
more and more difficult to park on the streets.
yeah. So here we all have a parking place under all of these
Not
condominiums,
all,
and
I don't.
well,
Mine.
no, not all, but most of them, and the modern ones, the ones that are
Yeah.
being built by law, at
Yeah.
least here in the north of Spain,
Hmm.
by law, they require to have parking underneath, which is convenient.
William, what was your most shocking I don't know if you call it attitude or point of view when you came here to do your very first senior year that you mentioned in the 80s regarding housing? Do you have any shocking thing regarding,
yeah.
I don't know, the
When
size of the windows or the size of the apartments or whatever?
it it to this day, it seems to me in many ways that a big difference that I've noticed is that our homes are set up or meant to live in,
Hmm.
to be cozy and comfortable, we tend to have big couches or sofas with plenty of seating and blankets to curl up and watch TV. And I remember in the 80s and going back and even in grad school when I lived with the same lady for three summers in her home in Santiago. There was never a place to feel comfortable for long periods of time, to a long winter day. And I think it's because the plazas and the cafes are an extension of homes in Spain. That's like
In a
part
way, it could be,
you
isn't it, Francisco?
you 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 meet friends at the cafe at the bar
Yeah.
downstairs.
Well,
Here in the United States, we have friends over for dinner every Sunday night and we hang out here at the house.
Hmm.
And that's just doesn't seem to be as common. And so to me, Spanish homes always seemed a little bit more utilitarian. It's a place you live there, but it didn't necessarily seem like homes are a place where you just hang out for hours.
no, I
Um,
think you're
that
so
was
right.
that was one thing. I noticed that in Spain, one thing that really impressed me is that I think people in Spain, you all learn to be amazing artists. It's it's a crazy thing. You all take art classes, and I see in Spain people have their own artwork hanging on the walls
Yeah,
or
that's true.
the kids'
Yeah, we
art.
do.
I see a lot of home, excuse me, home paintings, that my mom did, or your kid did, or your wife did, or your husband did, or your partner did. So that made an impression on me as well.
Mm.
Uh,
I never thought about that one, but yeah, you're right. I mean, this house is full of things that my aunt had done or we have painted or
yeah,
you're right. Never thought
I've
about that
seen
one.
that a lot. And then I guess the other thing would be here in our family. our culture, we take off our shoes
That
to
was the other thing I wanted to talk about because
so
that's another big thing in the States, isn't it? Shoes. When you
well, I would say more it's very, very personal because we have friends that never take their shoes off inside the house, and then we have others that do. My wife happens to be half Japanese, so we follow the Asian custom of removing our shoes before we come into the house. And we also ask that of the people that come to over to be in our home.
Mhm.
So we can provide a slippers if they need, or socks, or if they have cold feet. Most of the people know they bring their own, because there are friends that come over to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Uh, but we run around with no shoes on.
Yeah, here in Spain, I at home when we're alone, I run around with my socks on. I don't wear in the house the street shoes, but when I go visit my mom or anybody else, a friend, we never take the shoes off. Never.
Mhm.
And I would not dare to ask my friends to take their shoes off, although I take them off at home.
Do you
Uh,
do you guys remember the story that I've shared with you before about when I was living in Granada? I lived in a hostel, and
let's know again, please.
I went out into the hallway
Yeah.
with no shoes. I was in my room, and I
Yeah.
went
Oh
in the,
yeah, yeah.
went into the hallway with no shoes.
But I can imagine that lady screaming to
And
you.
I was in the hall,
"Oh."
and there's no carpet or anything. It's Granada. It's tile floor.
Yeah.
And the maid of the hotel came up to me and started scolding me for not wearing shoes. And she said, "Put on your shoes right
Yeah.
now." And I mean, I
But
was 20
that is
years old,
something that
22 years old.
but that
I
has
looked at her
shocked
and
me as a
said,
tour guide. I have seen tour members in Spain going to the breakfast area with no shoes, which is like,
That is, yeah.
"Yeah,
what
that
the?
no, that is no,
I was
that's
like,
no, that's odd." I was simply outside my room, right, standing in the hall looking for someone.
I've seen
But
people in the lobby with no shoes. It's like weird.
uh,
Yeah.
well, I did. I looked at this maid and I said in Spanish, "Tú no eres mi madre. You're not my mom." And I
You
got
ain't
slapped
my
across the
mama.
face.
You
You,
didn't.
I did.
she slapped
Whoa.
you?
She actually slapped me across the
Well,
face. So,
Francisco, Spain, 80s.
but
Yeah,
Spain,
Spain.
80s, post Franco, Franco had only been dead 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things have
Yeah.
changed.
You were pushing it too far.
I
It's
would
like,
love to see your face, William.
like no way.
Oh my
So,
goodness. Well,
yeah.
Francisco, what about if we jump into another topic that for both of us, and I think everybody who not everybody knows about this, but when they learn about that, they get a little bit shocked. I find it very convenient, and it's about bank holidays. You know, holidays that they are always, practically, or most of them, with exceptions, a few exceptions in America, most of them are on a Monday. Is that right, William?
Uh, okay.
Well, of course, you have the 4th of July, that is the day. You have Thanksgiving, that's the day. You have New Year's, you have Christmas. But most of the holidays, don't they put them on a Monday?
Like Washington's Day or Martin
No,
Luther.
not maybe like Memorial Day.
Memorial
To be
Day?
honest, look at the reality is I was in the workforce so many years ago now, I don't even remember. And now that I'm semi-retired, I don't pay attention. Reality. But what is interesting about what you're saying is that one of the things that you do, you have a puente,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a bridge in, and
Okay,
so
you, in your own words, as an American, explain here what a puente is for Spaniards,
okay, now
please.
I might have this totally wrong, but the way I see it is
Yeah.
that, say, for example, uh, you have a Thursday that's a holiday, a
Mhm.
festival day in Spain.
Yeah.
People will take advantage of the fact that it's on a Thursday. They'll then decide to make a bridge because the weekend is right after that, so we'll take the Friday off.
Yeah.
But then when you have the good fortune of maybe having Monday as another festival day, so you have Thursday and a Monday, then you make this,
Mini,
sometimes it's Golden Gate Bridge.
mini
Yes.
holidays. Yeah.
You'll have close to a week off, right? Because people will leave work early on Wednesday. They have Thursday off, and they're like, well, heck, we'll just take Friday off. You have Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday is another holiday.
Hmm.
So you have
And
this bridge, this puente, right?
to make our listeners understand is that Spain, although it's not a Catholic country, most of our festivities are based in this is the patron saint, this is the patroness saint. So it's the day whenever. So every year they change. They can
They
be on a
change.
Tuesday, can be on a Monday, can be on a Sunday. So
Well, yeah.
And for
I
us
mean,
here in the United States, we call it, we just say 3 day weekend. Oh, we have a 3 day weekend. That's what we
all right.
call it. So we Monday's a holiday. Maybe somebody would take a Friday off, but I know like in teaching, we weren't allowed to. If we took an extra day off that was attached to a day off, they wouldn't
Hmm.
give us a day with pay.
oh,
So, you hear it's just a 3 day weekend and that's it.
Hmm.
hmm,
Francisco, we have a big one of those super bridges here in Spain, which
almost
is
an
in
aqueduct.
is an aqueduct, that's right, which is now and again it gets like a real aqueduct, which is in the month of December,
Mhm.
because the December the 6th, William, you probably know that is a national holiday, which is Constitution Day.
Hmm.
So doesn't matter the day of the week, that is a holiday. But imagine it is a Tuesday. So you make a bridge, okay? Previous weekend, you take advantage of Monday, you take it off, and then you use a Tuesday as a 4 day weekend. But it happens that December the 8th is the patron saint of Spain, one of them, which is a national holiday, which is Our Lady, the Inmaculada Concepcion. How you call that in
Immaculate
English?
Conception.
Immaculate Conception. That, I mean, if 6 comes on a Tuesday, obviously the 8th is going to be on a Thursday. So what happens? People take advantage of those 3 working days of the week and they join it with the previous weekend and the following weekend. So it's a 10 days holidays before Christmas.
You know what? I can improve that one. Because here in Spain, you have national holidays, you have state holidays, and you have city holidays,
Yeah, that's
right?
right.
So every city, and where I come from, Navarra, December the 3rd is the patron saint, St. Francis Xavier,
Oh my
which is
goodness.
the patron saint of the state of Navarra. And then November 29th, it is the patron saint of the city of Pamplona, San Saturnino.
November
So
29.
you start on the 29th, and with only 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
you take off of work, you can have almost 12 days of holidays
So from November 13th, 29th until?
until this December the 8th,
Oh
8th
God,
of the
my
ninth.
goodness.
So for us, especially for me as a tour guide, those are the big holidays I take. Because in the summer I cannot take days off, but those are the big holidays.
William, what's your point of view about so many holidays together?
Well, I love the way you guys, and we have different, I think Spaniards and Americans, we have different ways of working the system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
You know, yeah, for us, my wife worked for a very large company here in the United States, and they would sacrifice some holidays to then add additional days to Christmas holidays. So her
Oh,
company would actually completely shut down for two full weeks
Wow.
oh my
uh, in
goodness.
holidays, which was great because I was a teacher, so it often coincided with my academic schedule. And
Nice.
uh, but then if she had additional vacation that was paid vacation, she would then maybe attach that to Christmas and take even longer.
Mm.
So, we the bottom line is, I think no matter where you live, you celebrate every day that you
You can take a day off.
can
Yeah.
have a vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care where you live in the world. If you get a holiday, you're happy about it. I mean, I've never seen anybody cranky about the fact that they were having a day off work.
Neither have I. Neither have I.
No, neither do.
Francisco, you brought up a topic very curious just a few minutes ago, saying that we officially, which is true, is in the Constitution, we're not a religious country any longer. That
Mhm.
means that we are not Catholic any longer. But
Yeah.
by tradition, okay,
Mhm.
all most of our festivities, excuse me, are based on the local patron, local patroness, or any religious thing related. So that is open the door for our next topic to we want to touch with William, which is weddings,
Ooh, family celebrations.
family celebrations. Come on, Francisco, what do you have
So,
to say about it?
William, have you been to a Spanish wedding?
I've only been to a Spanish wedding because I just happened upon it, which is
Okay.
interesting that you should bring this up because that doesn't happen in the United States. In the United States, weddings are private, doors are closed. You don't just walk into somebody's wedding. I mean, that would be rare. In Spain, I've walked into dozens and dozens of weddings as they were happening
Hmm.
because the bride and groom can be inside the church, but half the wedding party is out in the street smoking and drinking a beer. Oh,
Yeah, welcome to Spanish wedding.
Welcome to Spain, guys.
Well, in fact, my wedding when I got married, the chapel where I got married was super, super small, that only 50 people can fit, and there was 150 people in my wedding. So there was 100 people outside of the wedding drinking.
I'm partying.
And party's like, okay, did you get married already? Good for you. So it was
Ah,
impossible to fit everybody inside of the church.
all
But
right.
but
Okay.
for us, Spanish people, I have never been to an American wedding, but the only thing we have seen is on the movies. And
Mm.
first of all, you is it true that you guys have the pre-wedding or the rehearsal wedding?
we have
What
a
the hell is
rehearsal. There's a
that?
rehearsal to rehearse what will happen during the ceremony. And then generally, and that is usually, this is generalization again,
Yeah.
usually paid by the groom's family or the groom pays for the rehearsal dinner. So you have the rehearsal. In our case, we had a rehearsal. We were married at the cathedral in Seattle, St. James.
Ooh, you were married at the cathedral.
It was beautiful. And we had a rehearsal at the cathedral the day before. And then we took everybody to dinner, anybody who was in the wedding party and the parents to a rehearsal dinner.
Okay, so who goes to this rehearsal?
So it would be the wedding party and usually the parents.
Okay, so it's a small, like 10 people. Like,
Yes. And you walk down the aisle, you rehearse with the whoever's going to be marrying you, the pastor, the priest, the whatever. This isn't a case where you would need a rehearsal. Maybe if you're going to the justice of the peace, you're just going to the justice of the peace and you don't have a rehearsal for that. But if there's a ceremony, most people go through, most of my friends have gone through some sort of rehearsal prior to the wedding. So everybody knows what they're supposed to do during the wedding.
here,
And when.
nothing. I mean, you go there, it's like, okay, mom, on
But
this
but
arm, let's walk in. That's it.
but Fran, if you are getting married through the church, I mean, you have to go to the civil court before to get the license
Um,
to be married. I mean, legally married
yeah.
under the eyes of the law, not the
Mhm.
religion. Okay, but then you have if you want to do the religious ceremony, then you have to do some kind of talks to the priest who's gonna marry you or something like that.
Well, you have a class that you have to assist, and
Yeah.
if you do it by church, okay, so here the church has rules, and the rule says that you need to take this course where they teach you how to be a good husband. uh well, basic things. It- we even have a sex talk
Oh,
given by a
really?
priest. And it was, I mean, in my case, he was the funniest priest in the world. He's like, here I am. I have to talk to you about sex. I'm a priest. What the hell do I know about this one? So I love
we
it.
we had to take the same preparation class because since we were married in the Catholic Church, right? We had
Okay, so
Hmm.
to,
you do have the same.
yeah.
Oh,
And
okay,
If
that's
so
if you're gonna marry on the Catholic
yeah,
church,
yes,
right?
that
But
yeah.
what about those weddings that we see in the movies that they can be in a
Like my
field
son's wedding.
in a private club or something like that, and anyone could be the master of the ceremony. How can it be? Please enlighten us.
Okay, so Francisco, you have to close your ears. So my son was our son was married at a yacht club
Yeah.
in Seattle.
Yeah.
And so, and the person that officiated was my son's father-in-law's best friend, who was like an uncle to my daughter-in-law, just a
Okay.
childhood friend
Hmm.
uh, who officiated.
And
Okay. So
yeah, how come they can do that?
You can you can actually either one of you could do the same thing. You can become an official by taking an online course and getting a certificate. And you
What?
can
online.
also, yes, and you could be an official legal officiant for a marriage ceremony.
Are you guys
Wow.
familiar with the TV show Big Bang Theory?
Yeah. Huh?
Okay, Mark Hamill, known as Luke Skywalker in the Star
Mhm.
Wars saga, he plays a little role in one of the chapters of, I think it's the not the last season, but the last chapter of the season before last, when Sheldon Cooper and Amy Farrah Fowler they get married. So it's a surprise for them both that he's gonna be the master of the ceremony. And then at the very end, he says something like, "Even you can be even you can make weddings.com." And I thought, excuse me. So I had to rewind the chapter and hear that. I said, I mean, this must be a joke. But now, William, you're saying that anyone can take that course
That's
online?
right. That's right. And here's one that'll shock you. After the ceremony,
Yeah,
as you know, my son and my daughter-in-law, were the married couple, will come down the aisle.
yeah.
And then after, the seating, it's the parents and the et cetera, come out afterwards. We all danced to music when we left the area where they got married. So they
Right
played,
away.
yes. So when they were leaving the wedding, they played music. The DJ played music, and we danced down the aisle to the music.
No, 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 no. Here, so is that considered to be the first dance?
No, 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 no.
Okay,
That
okay, okay,
was
okay, okay.
because everybody was happy and they were married and joyful, and so we were just celebrating in the moment. And the kids wanted to dance down the aisle, and when they were done,
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
that is totally different from here. Here, it's
Yeah.
I don't care if you do it civil wedding, which is with a politician who's marrying you, or an official person, or a religious. It's super serious. I mean, there's no music. I mean, there's religious music or a choir or something, but no dance music on a wedding until after dinner.
yeah,
Oh,
interesting.
okay.
I have a question for you. In the church, in the Catholic Church, for the wedding music, are you only allowed to play certain hymns
Yeah.
during
Yep.
the
Well,
wedding?
mm, mm, I mean, you're not gonna play, I don't know, Lady Gaga,
Right.
but you can play, I don't know, Elton John's music, something that goes in the
Okay.
church,
All
right?
right.
And it's gonna be played by violins or by the organ or things like that. So it cannot be rock music in a church.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. So what about the wedding banquet? Because here, again, in the movies, in the wedding banquet, the groom's friend talks, the father of the bride, everybody talks. Here in Spain, nobody talks. Is that a rule? Doesn't most of the people do it?
No, no. It truly is what happens after the wedding is a complete free for all.
Okay,
I mean,
so
you could go to the basement of the church and have cupcakes and coffee and say goodbye. I mean, it's all over the place. There is no prescription for, no official protocol for a wedding
okay,
reception. Some
so
people have them, some people don't. Some people make them. Some people spend $100,000 or $200,000. Some people spend 10,000. We spent, I think maybe, I don't know, we maybe spent 3 or 4 thousand. We had 200 people at our wedding. We had a brunch. We got married in the morning.
Mhm.
We had a string quartet playing in the corner, and we had a brunch.
Ah, how
But we didn't do
romantic.
any dancing because our we got married at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then by
10
11:30.
o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
So
okay,
did you go with a hangover?
okay, so that's another big difference. When I got married at noon. So we got married. we're Spanish. We have lunch at 2. So you go from the church, you go to the restaurant. Everybody goes to the restaurant and everybody sits down for lunch. Okay. Lunch was from about 2 until 5, more or less. Then we had a dance from 5 until 9. Then we had a light dinner. And then we had another dance until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was like, but that is quite a normal thing in Spain
Yes.
to have this mega long meal after then
Mm.
dance, then more food, and then more dance. So it's like huge.
And you dress for the occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, here in the United States, you can go to a wedding at the cathedral and wear shorts.
Oh,
No way.
Oh yeah, I mean, people dress
You
whatever
see
they.
what Francisco did?
the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. Come on, give me a break.
I mean, honestly, you could. I have gone to weddings dressed up in a suit, and there's somebody next to me in jeans and a t-shirt. I mean, we don't, unless you are invited to a what is known as a very, very formal event, and
Mhm.
usually, you know, a lot of times that has to do with the socioeconomic
Yeah.
Yeah.
background, whoever is
I
getting
mean,
married.
here in
Here,
Spain,
it's like wear what you want. In Spain, you dress for the occasion.
Yeah.
I mean, we all wear a suit and tie.
Uh,
If it's a VIP wedding, you might wear long tails or chaquet, something more fancy, and then it's required. But that about the guys, the girls, you have to wait until the mother of the groom sets the protocol.
Yep.
If it's going to be a long dress, if it's going to be cocktail, you cannot be overdressed, overshadowing the mother of the groom. Because the bride is going to be beautiful, gorgeous, with whole gown. Okay, great. But the one who sets for the rest of the guests to a wedding, it is the mother of the groom. So if she's going to wear a Pamela, big hat, then the rest of the ladies can wear a hat. So you need to find out. And it's like a little gossip. It's like, so is it going to be a long dress? Is it going to be a cocktail? What on earth is it going to be? Is it going to be okay? Now you dress accordingly to that. And
yeah.
so it's not as easy. Here
Mm.
it's complicated
And what
to
about
be.
the bride, Francisco? I don't know, William, if this protocol is the same over there. No lady invited to the ceremony nor the party after can be or can wear anything in white. The only person allowed to dress anything in white is the bride.
I mean, that's kind of, from what I understand. I don't
Yeah.
know this for a fact, but I think that's protocol.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, no
Okay.
whites, off whites, butter color, ivory color. No, all of that goes for the
Of course,
bride.
now, you know, a bride may wear something that's not white too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
Yeah, but
sometimes not
90% of brides wear clear,
white. Yeah.
light whitish colors. Yeah,
Hmm.
not pure,
there
pure
was
white.
something else I was going to say about it. It escaped me. If it comes back, I'll. It
Not
was
Oh
something.
yeah,
judgment.
yeah. Please feel free
Oh,
to jump
I
in.
know what it was. And what about eloping?
A what?
What?
Elo-
What do you say? Eloping?
eloping. You
Eloping?
know
What
what
the hell is
eloping
that?
is? When the couple just leaves to go get married far away, so they elope, so they don't say anything to anybody. They just take off for Las Vegas and go to a chateau,
Oh, right.
I will
Yeah.
kill them.
and they don't tell the parents. They don't. They just elope. They just go. And
Uh,
so, you know,
well,
sometimes
the
dads
best
will say,
person to answer that is Francisco because he's the father of 3 kids. I don't have any kids, so I don't have an answer for that.
well,
If
and then
my
sometimes the dad will say to the, you know, because here traditionally the father or the parents of the groom, mother and father of the, I'm sorry, mother and father of the bride, you know, are going to pay for the wedding. This is in old
oh,
tradition. This is not
okay,
necessarily
okay,
the
that's
case.
another big difference here in
This is
Spain.
the tradition, you know. So sometimes the father who's going to give the money will say, you know, hey, why don't you guys just elope and I'll just give you this in cash and you can start your new life with this
Get
money.
out. Yeah, no. Here I have not heard about any couple doing something like that. If something like that happens, is because they're renegades and they're in trouble because I don't know. Some never heard about it. Never.
William, would you please say the word again? Eloping?
Elope. Elope.
Elope.
Elope.
E-
Elope. Oh, I never heard of that word. in my
The new
life.
word of the day for
So
me
you
too.
say they eloped.
Mm,
Okay.
interesting.
Which could be
Interesting.
smart. You can save a lot of money.
Well, well,
That's true.
okay. Let's talk about money because you
Yeah.
said that normally the parents of the bride pays for the wedding.
Yeah, that's old tradition, right?
Okay, yeah, but
Not the case as much anymore, but yes,
but
yeah.
here in Spain, normally it's 50-50. Sometimes if the groom brings 100 guests and the bride brings 200, 50-50 is like, okay, fine. But the parents of the couple are the ones paying the whole thing. What about the gifts? When you are invited to a wedding, how much, what do you give as a gift, as a present?
There's no protocol.
No,
You
but
write a
how much
check.
would you give? Like
There's
food? I
no,
mean,
there's no, it depends. It could be depending on the relationship that you have with a person, how close you feel to them. There is no protocol. I know that more and more young kids are not registering. I mean, back in the old days, I mean, we've been married almost 40 years. We would register and you pick your china and you pick your everyday dishes and you pick this and you pick that. And then you have this list. And then people go to the store and they see the list and they go, oh, let's buy one plate. And they buy a plate and there's your gift. I
Mhm.
mean, there is no protocol. It doesn't, you could do anything.
so
You
here,
could spend, $30 and you could spend $3 million. I mean,
but here, for example, in Spain, what do you do when you're invited to a wedding? You need to know where the wedding banquet is going to take place. And according to the place, you know how much more or less the couple is going to pay for the
Mhm.
menu. It's going to be 150, 200 euros. And that is what you have to, by tradition, what you have to give them. So you pay your own food.
cash, could you give?
Well, now they give you bank account, but in my wedding, there was a lot of people bringing you cash on an envelope. So here you are, the bride or the groom, and all of these people is giving you cash, and you have, in my case, I talk with my brother and my brother-in-law. We're gonna start passing you envelopes with money. Please take care of them because you cannot have them all on you. Unfortunately, once in a while, you find an envelope that is empty,
Yep.
and it's like,
I've heard that.
damn.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So
But
being invited to a Spanish wedding is expensive because you
yeah.
need to buy. The guys, we don't need to buy a suit. You just buy a tie, and that's it. But the girls, they need to have a full dress, shoes, makeup, plus the gift. And the gift is going to be minimum per person 150 euros to 200. So imagine in my case, if we are invited to a wedding, we're five, and you're gonna pay 200 euros per person, which is $800, 800, no, 1,000 euros if it's 200, plus the dresses, plus this. So it's gonna be like, there are
I
years.
suddenly have, I think I have a fever.
So being invited to Spanish wedding, it
I'm
is
sick.
expensive. On the
Jorge, we
other
better
hand,
start saving our money for his three kids.
no, but well, on the other hand, for example, my sister-in-law, she lives in Seville. We know that if there's a wedding here and she's going to come all the way up, she's not going to give anything because what she's going to pay is for all her family to come up here.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when I invite you, William, to my kid's wedding, you don't have to bring anything. Just bring yourself and your wife. That's the big gift.
Jorge, you live in Spain, so
Oh,
Yeah.
but Jorge, you better pay.
I think I'm gonna have a fever that day.
Well, guess what? If you're invited,
Yeah.
it is nice, even if you're not going, to give some money.
Yeah. It's
Just
almost
like,
almost compulsory. Yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
it's like
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
that's why weddings in Spain are like 300, 200 people. Why? They make money. So,
And Francisco, I know there is something that you want to ask William because it's profession before being a tour guide. Is related to that, isn't it?
yes, it's education. That is one of the big, big, big differences. How you guys go to junior high, high school, business school, all of these things. Here in Spain, you have one school and you go from the beginning all the way to the end. So in my case, I went to my school when I was 4 years old, and I came out from the same school when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
So you guys have junior high. You have way too many schools, don't you?
We have elementary school, which goes
Okay.
it's kindergarten through well, things have changed and evolved a little bit. So I'm going to give you one model. So kindergarten through fifth grade, and then you go to uh, what's called middle school now. So the junior high,
Is that when you change school? You change
you
place?
change schools. Yes, you change
Right.
physical locations. You go to a middle school. Now, often it's sixth grade through eighth grade. So six, seven, eight.
And what
Okay.
age is the kid at that eighth grade?
What 13,
13, right then.
Okay.
Okay.
and then high school would be 9, 10, 11, and 12.
So
Right.
as a
However,
kid, yeah,
that's not always the case
yeah.
because some high schools are only 10, 11, and 12. So it just depends on, I mean, we have as you know, a huge country, and there are
Yeah.
so many systems in different states that are run differently.
Oh,
So
it's not federal.
it's not federal.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
not a
that.
federal system.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
And
Oh,
so we have it's run by the state and then it's run by a district. So for example, in my district, it's the town, the city that I live in or that I'm a part of, the school district. We have it goes to, kindergarten through fifth grade, and then sixth, seventh, eighth is middle school, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 will be
and
high school.
one of the
okay.
big differences that I saw when I started my senior year of high school in the United States, the
Mhm.
biggest difference to me was that the students, they go from one classroom to another classroom.
Yes.
Here in Spain, the kids stay in the class, and the ones moving are the teachers.
Yes. So here,
Hmm.
a teacher, like when I taught, my room was decorated with everything having to do with Spain, so I had a big poster of Rosana. I mean, you decorate to make it an environment where the kids want to be involved and learn and soak up the language. So that's the really nice thing about a teacher having their own space is that you get to make it your own space. And if a teacher is in a room for 20 years, can you imagine 20 years worth of, it's like,
I
takes
cannot. I
months
cannot.
to move out when you retire,
I
right?
cannot
And then the
imagine.
students go from class to class.
All
That's right.
right.
That is so shocking for us. That is like in the movies, like, whoa, you have to go from one class to another. Like so fun. It's like,
And of course, in Spain, your grades matter a lot more I mean, they really matter here, but even more so in Spain for college admission.
oh,
Because
don't talk to me
here in
about
the
that
United States,
one.
you have many, many, many boxes to check for college admission,
Yeah.
test scores, class grades, and also we have participation, involvement, volunteer work, other things that count toward helping a student be
To,
accepted
and
into a university.
to me,
Whereas in
your
Spain,
way,
it's tests and score
yeah.
and class scores, and that's it.
And to me, your way, I think it's better than ours because education is not only academics. And here in Spain, we only care about academics,
Yeah.
not anything else. There in the United States, you care about academics, sports, community work, the clubs you join. All of that is
Or
extra
the
education.
whole person.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more holistic, it's more complete. So to me, your way is much better than ours. Here it's all academics and memorize, memorize, memorize. Especially people like me that have dyslexia, it was so hard. While
Mm.
in the United States, you guys value, many other things that are also education, but they are not mathematical education, which
People
I
out
love.
there, William is an expert because he's been teaching for many, many years. Francisco is an expert because his kids are now in the middle of all that. And he had to
Yeah.
go through all that. I'm a naive in all that aspect. That was I'm remaining silence here.
Yeah. So,
Well, like I said, it's been so many years since I was in the classroom. I'm not an expert anymore, but
but
anyway.
what about college? Because here, college, you need to do your senior year of high school, which, by the way, here in Spain, it is the worst and hardest year of all your schooling. After the senior year, you have a national test. And once you have the national test, you have the grade, this is what you have, is when you can apply to a college. While in the United States, you guys apply before the classes are finished.
Yeah, we applied during our senior year.
So,
It's often early decision. Might be a student may finish all their college applications by December. So the school year starts in September, and you've already made a decision as to where you're going to school by December. You've maybe been accepted or not, and that goes until the spring. If you do a normal application, maybe you don't find out until February or March if you've been accepted for the following year, your freshman year.
but
Hmm.
how long? I mean, okay, so if you have already been accepted in a college
Mhm.
by December, what is the motivations for the kids to study from December until June?
Oh, because the university could simply say, take it back. When the final grades come
Oh,
out in
okay.
June, and the university it receives the final grade report in June.
Hmm.
If they see that you haven't held up your side of the bargain, then they can rescind
Thanks,
their
but no thanks.
yeah. I
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
See you later. Is that okay? Okay, okay. So it makes sense. Because to me,
Sure.
I'm like, if you do it by December, forget it. I'm
No,
gonna.
I mean, a lot of students, don't work as hard, but the university could easily take away their acceptance.
Hmm.
Okay,
I see.
one thing that I loved when I was in the United States during my senior year, it was the prom.
Yeah.
Here, we don't have a
No, we
prom.
don't
We
have that
don't
thing.
have, it's like, okay, you're
No.
finished, get me out of here. I don't want to get anything else. So you guys have this big party and you dress up and it's super fun.
Yeah. And for the record, because we're
Yeah.
all old, I have been schooled over and over and over again to not call it the prom.
Oh, so how
Why
do you
not?
call it?
We call it prom. So the kids would say, are you going to prom? They don't say, are you going to the prom? And my son would make fun of me all the time. It's not okay, old man. It's not the prom. What's
Okay.
prom? So yeah, so we have prom
Yeah.
and we have senior ball, and those are big to-dos, big dances, and yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
deal during
Do
high
you
school.
still give the corsage and the flowers and the like? I don't know. Well, that's what
Eh,
they show in the movies, so I guess they still do it.
I'm too removed. I have no idea what the current custom is.
We're too old on this.
They haven't
Okay.
done it for a while. Okay, guys
No,
out there, this is this is a little bit more extended than usual, but there is one other issue that Francisco and I want to talk about that I think is we're gonna try to be kind of quick here, which is William, as you know, a little bit. The way of living in Spain because you spent here some years and you love Spain and you come here every year now in working basis. Francisco and I, when we were discussing all this together with you, we thought that talking a little bit briefly about inheritance, it could be a nice topic just to know also the big differences that there are in between Spanish system and American system. So please, would you explain how the inheritance system could go in the United States?
okay, I'm gonna take this opportunity to fit in one other little topic,
Yeah,
but I'll make a good segue. It, when you're at home in the
yeah,
United States, Spain,
yeah,
if you don't have your hands on the table while you're eating,
yeah.
Oh.
you might be disinherited by your parents.
We have a
In the
podcast
United
about that,
States,
don't we, Francisco?
Yes, yes, yes.
in the
That's
United
such a
States,
major
we
difference.
put our hands on our laps. If
Yeah.
No,
I
no,
put
no.
my hands on the table while I'm eating, I may be disinherited by my parents, right? They cut you off. So that's
Yeah.
a funny thing that we didn't talk about, but inheritance in the United States basically is that, when I pass away or when my wife passes away, we have one child. If we don't like him, we could give the money to the shelter for dogs and cats. To
Hmm.
we could leave it to the next door neighbor. I mean, there is no rule or regulation in the United States to whom you leave your money. It just doesn't. Nobody cares.
It's very
While
different. It's
here,
very different here, isn't it,
yeah,
Francisco?
here in Spain, if you have children, you have by law have to give one third of what you have. You have to divide it in all the childrens you have. So minimum one third it will go to the kids. The rest you can do whatever you want. Well, as long as you pay taxes. Because
Yeah,
when
of
you
course.
die, you have to pay taxes of what you're going to give away.
It also depends, Francisco, where you live in Spain, because
Yeah.
William knows the system here. We call them autonomous regions, which is kind of states, not the same system, right? Okay, but it depends on that autonomous regions that you live. You have to pay more or less taxes. Where I live in Madrid, that is tax free. Okay, that's I think it's called succession tax. Is tax free here unless you sell the inheritance. Then the taxes can be really heavy. But if you just keep it for yourself, all you have to do is just pay the local tax to the city hall, but the inheritance tax in the region of Madrid is free. I know that in Andalusia, in the south of Spain, it's like a 20%.
Yeah.
So it depends, it varies. I don't know about in Navarra, Francisco.
Navarra, we do have to pay. So now what we say in Spain is that the best place to die in Spain is in Madrid because it's where your kids will not have to pay any taxes out of it.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That's true.
if
Yeah.
you go and live in Madrid for 2 years, I think, and you become madrileño
Mhm.
and you pay your taxes there for 2 years, then if you die, it's the best place because your kids will
Yeah.
not have to pay. So
Even if you inherited from your family that lives in another state, if you can show that you are a permanent resident from Madrid, like I am, I've been for almost 30 years now. Even if you show that to the
mhm,
authorities of that state where that patrimony could come from, is tax free because
Mm.
you are living here. And it's what you said, Francisco. The inheritance is divided in three, 33.33%. So it makes 100%. So one part, one third is obligatory by law for all the kids, whether they are 1 or 17 kids. That
mhm.
third is for those. There is another one that goes, one of those thirds that goes to your other half is still alive. That's also by law. And then the third remaining is called, uh, William, in Spanish is libre disposición. How would you translate that into English?
Basically,
Free,
wherever free will, like you can
free will.
just
Yeah, that's right, free will.
Do whatever
So
you want to do with this money.
you can even spread that into your kids or give it to your other half if it's alive or donate it to charity, whatever. Okay. But that is the law here. That is the law. That is, your kids cannot be, um, you know, deleted off your will, even if you want to. There is a
do you think that
third. Sorry.
I have
Well,
I have a question about that. Do you think that goes back to the days where the children would be obligated to take care of their parent when one parent dies?
I don't have no
You know,
idea.
your children, so if your husband dies,
Hmm.
then your children will take care of you, sort of thing. So they need the.
Maybe yes. I mean, I don't think it's a written rule, but yeah, I think it could be from that time period, but I don't
It
know
makes
why.
sense what you're saying, William, but
Yeah.
I cannot tell if that comes from that or not.
I remember here I heard about this inheritance law in Spain for the first time. It just was so odd to me that when I pass away and my wife is still living, that she doesn't just get everything, and then when she dies, then the kids get, then it
Hmm.
goes that way. That you're obligated from me that I have to give something directly to my children. That was interesting to me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah.
there are differences. And, well, Francisco, what do you think about all these different things that we have seen? It's like facing yourself in a mirror, but with a different face, isn't it?
Well, I love it because all of these differences is what makes the world magical, and
Yeah,
it's the place where we're living.
great.
And I think it's great to have a friend who is American and can share all of these differences because you know about Spain, you know how strange things we do. So yeah, thank you so much, William, for
Yeah.
all of this talk.
Thank you. And I just have to say that the three of us, because we travel and we have traveled a lot, we've had the good fortune of seeing many parts of the world. We have to remember that more than anything, we're more alike. We're more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So there are so
absolutely.
many other things that we celebrate together because we're so much more alike. We have these differences, but when you really get down to what we desire the most in life, to have, good health and good health for our children and for,
Good
our loved
job.
ones to have, be contributing members of society, in this case, my son and my daughter-in-law. And we want peace. We want,
Mhm.
goodwill toward humanity. I think that those are the things that are even more important than these.
Yeah.
These are fun things to talk about,
Yeah.
but
Oh
I
yeah,
think
of
we all
course.
have so much more in common, don't we?
And I think the
Absolutely.
more you travel, you more realize that no matter where you go around the world, we all need and want the same: peace,
Yeah.
love, good health, a decent job, friends.
Yeah.
That's all we all need, want, and no matter the culture, that's what we search for.
My
Yeah,
life
that's
is
true.
definitely much richer because you are in my life. And I just,
We
I would
love
be
you.
remiss if I didn't share that because,
Mm.
I'm a different person. I'd be a completely different person if I didn't know the two of you and my other friends in the world. So thank you for your friendship.
Well, thank you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you, William.
You're
It's
so
been
good with
a
words, my friend.
it's been a pleasure to have you here again for a second time. We want to thank both of us for your precious time, just contributing and helping us just to make this now in video. The first time was just audio.
Yeah.
This time is video. So, Francisco,
Well,
whatever I had to say, I just mentioned it. And
um,
William, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys.
Thank
we
you.
Love you
love
both.
you. Thank you so, so much. To our listeners, thank you for joining this week. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumb up if you have enjoyed the tour. This podcast. We're tour guides.
This is a tour guide talking.
Tour of our life.
Damn.
Subscribe, everybody. Subscribe to these two. They're amazing. They're wonderful. You can
Thank
learn a lot
you.
about
Everybody, we love you. See you next week.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye bye,
Adiós.
chicos.
Hasta
Adiós,
luego.
William.
amigos.
Francisco,
Adiós,
adiós.
amigos.
Bye. And as usual, we want to thank all our listeners for being there every week, letting us sharing our talks. Follow us in Spanish Loops in Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite platform.
And in Instagram, you can find us as the Spanish Loops Podcast. No spaces altogether. If you want to find us the quickest way, just Google Spanish Loops Podcast and you will find us. Hasta la vista, amigos.
See you next week.